Classes in session, college football, Hitting the Book show, Monday, December 22nd. It is our part 2 college football bowl preview edition of Hitting the Books. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack with you, ready to break down the second half of the bowl slate. Just to refresh everyone's memory as to where we're at. If you didn't see last Monday's show, we did all the bowl games up to and including Saturday, December 27th. So basically all the bowl games taking place this week from now through to Saturday, we capped those. We covered those on last Monday's show. So make sure you check out last Monday's edition of Hitting the Books. We talked about every bowl game that's taking place between today, from the Potato Bowl today right through to Saturday. All the bowl games. It's a big bowl slate Saturday coming up. I think there's 7 bowl games coming up on Saturday. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bowl games on Saturday. We talked about all of those last Monday. So today's show, we will begin with the Monday, December 29th bowl games and beyond. So we'll start with the Birmingham Bowl and rip right through the rest of the bowl schedule, and also talk about the 4 college football playoff quarterfinal games taking place New Year's Eve, one on New Year's Eve and the other 3 on New Year's Day, part of a beautiful, beautiful triple header on New Year's Day of college football playoff games, quarterfinals, noon Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, every 4 hours. Beautiful day after you're hungover and you whoop it up for New Year's Eve to ring in 2026. You just sit on your ass on the couch all day on New Year's Day and watch all the playoff games, all those quarterfinals. C-Mac, that's my plan. I can tell you that. But very interesting weekend, obviously. Same. Congratulations to Alabama. What a comeback by them after a dreadful start against Oklahoma. Let's give Cristobal some credit for a change. He finally stepped up. His team won a big game. That's been lacking in his coaching run, even going back to Oregon. But Miami got the job done. Ugly, one of the ugliest games you'll see, but Miami found a way. Congrats to them. Congrats to Ole Miss, who rolled right through Tulane. And congrats to Oregon, who pretty much dominated James Madison, although I have a few things to say about Oregon's performance in that game, and I will save it for when we talk about Oregon and Texas Tech coming up in the quarterfinal round. But C-Mac, any thoughts on the playoff first round and what we saw?
Yeah, I mean, those 2 teams being in, it was tough. I'll get to it too. You know, I thought they made the stops at least, even though James Madison moved the ball. We talked about that, you know, last Monday. Could they do it? They definitely did. So Oregon, maybe we'll get to them. A little weaker, maybe schedule. This defense not as good as I talk about, huh?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Quite possible.
So we'll get to that. But Bama, not that I was feeling great, but I took it at 8.5. There was at 17-0. I took it 13.5 and twice. And yeah, that was great. We'll get into them after the huge win. I think these are bounce back. Same thing with Miami. Played really, really good. Beck didn't do anything. I mean, he had 1 fumble, right? Yep. I think there didn't, of course, amount to anything. He didn't throw for a ton. I think Miami riding high. Defense played excellent to go into Kyle Field, shut them down, hold them to only 3 points. But I think they're riding a little bit too high. We'll get into that game later. Miami, Ohio State.
Yeah, we certainly will. No question about that. All right, let's begin with the bowl game. Well, the one bowl game taking place. There's only one bowl game on Monday, December 29th. It's the Birmingham Bowl. Birmingham, Alabama, Georgia Southern, Appalachian State. We've got Georgia Southern 7.5-point favorites, 59.5 being the total in this game. This is the bowl game where Georgia Southern needed an opponent. You know, they did. It looked like this game might be canceled. This was the bowl game where Georgia Southern was waiting for someone to step up and be an opponent for them in this bowl game. And App State is the team that stepped up and said, hey, we'll play you. And that's how it got scheduled. So App State ends up playing Georgia Southern here in this Birmingham Bowl. And right away, that tells me that App State was that eager to, you know, step up and say, hey, we'll play this bowl game against Georgia Southern. It kind of tells me they might be interested. They might be into it. They might be looking to put a good foot forward here in this football game. The problem is, do we trust their defense? I mean, this is a defense that was not any good, you know, for a large part of the Sun Belt really the large part of the entire season, but especially in Sun Belt play. This is a team that gave up 38 points early in the year to Southern Miss, 47 to Boise State early in the year. We saw them in conference play give up 45 to Coastal Carolina, and Coastal Carolina quarterback issues all year. They gave up 58 to JMU, 30 in their last game, losing to Arkansas State. So it's not exactly a great App State defense. When you look at this Georgia Southern offense here in this game, they're capable of throwing the football a little bit better as far as the passing attack compared to their ability to run it. And this is a horrible App State secondary. I've got them at 132 as far as passing yards allowed per game in the country this year. So you got to believe that there should be opportunity here for Georgia Southern offensively through the air to move the football. They're a better passing team than they are running team, and App State is right near the bottom in FBS college football as far as defending the pass. So it does look on paper like a great matchup for the Georgia Southern offense. And keep in mind, too, with Georgia Southern as well, it's a team that obviously has had the ability to put up points through the air, so should be able to here. Question is, what are you going to get offensively here from App State? But as we know, early in the year, the Georgia Southern offense was really, really awful. And I remember early in the year, we were just betting over with this team. They got better in a couple of games later in the season, but still not a great Georgia Southern defense. They gave up 40 to Coastal, 45 to Old Dominion. Did play a lot better, winning outright as a double-digit dog against Marshall the final game. But majority of their games, they're giving up at least 24, and more often than not 30 points, even a couple games where they've given up 40 points. That's a concern. These teams played each other, by the way, in November. Georgia Southern getting the outright win as an underdog there in that game, 25-23. They got the victory. What stands out to me about that game is it stayed under 48 points. The total was 61.5. But Georgia Southern had over 500 yards of almost actually, not quite, but almost 500 yards of offense. App State threw for 348 through the air with A.J. Swan. Like I said, J.C. French, who's got a decent arm, can probably throw the ball well here against this bad App State pass defense. So I'm kind of interested in this total, 59.5. It's still, a week away, this game, but as long as the weather holds up, I could see there being some points scored here in this bowl game. And at the moment, looking ahead to next Monday in Birmingham, I see 9-mile-per-hour winds, no rain. So as of now, weather not an issue in this game. C-Mac, what do you think here? Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah, the good old Birmingham Bowl here in this game. When I look at the total, let's hit it real quick. I definitely could go over, but I don't know. I don't know about these teams in these bowl games a little bit. I think it's a little bit too high. Sometimes we just get into a shootout. You talked about the bad defenses. Both sides are pretty bad. Both can throw it, and the secondaries aren't very good in this matchup. I just think this is a little bit revenge. And Cole's going to play quarterback right here for App State that I have.
Yeah, Swan's let me just bring that up because you're right. They had a little bit of quarterbacking carousel later in the season. But as things stand right now, it's looking like that's what I think. Hold on one sec here. We've got, what I got to do? I got to go look in the depth charts here. My usual RotoWire screen. They've usually got the starters listed right in front of me, but not.
Swan's gone.
It's going to be French. It's going to be French for Georgia Southern. App State. AJ Swan transferred out. Yeah, he's gone. He's not going to be involved here for App State. It looks like it's going to be J.J. Cole. Yes, it is probably going to be J.J. Cole. Now, there's a doubtful designation next to his name. Let me just check into that here.
Okay.
He's in the transfer portal too, or at least last update last week plans to enter the transfer portal.
That's why this number's got to be where it's at.
Yeah. So they could be down to their third on the depth chart if that's the case. That would be Noah Gillen who would start at quarterback if Cole's out too. So keep that in mind.
He doesn't have a pass, does he, this year?
Gillen does. Gillen does. Gillen's 13 of 32, 40.6% completion rate. That's pretty bad, I must say.
Yeah.
13 for 32, 40.6% completion rate. He may be in line to get the start because it looks like Cole might be out of there too.
That's the biggest thing because I just don't. Motivation's key because we talk about it all the time. But do you really want to lay points with Georgia Southern? Team, they already beat this team, 25-23. And I think a little bit to hit on the total. These defenses played a little bit better, I'd say, the last month of the year. They're great. Even in that game there with all the yards, kind of like bend but don't break, a few more field goals and just easy touchdowns. So I think you got to take that into account as well in this game.
Yep, no doubt. This is definitely a wait and see game. I'll say this, I'm going to do some digging into the quarterback situation. You don't step up and accept a bowl game invite if your kids aren't into it or you're not somewhat interested.
Yeah, I mean, they should be App State. Yeah.
Because the NCAA was looking for someone to step up and play Georgia Southern, and they kept calling teams left and right. Nope, we're not playing. Nope, we're not interested. And it was App State that finally responded with a yes. And if you're responding with a yes, it tells me that the kids are invested in trying to make want to be here, want to play, want to win. So that's why I have a hard time laying this number with Georgia Southern. I get all the quarterback concerns with App State, but I wouldn't be laying it at this number right now. With
one thing on the total, just to hit on before we go to the next one, bunch of these teams got a lot of injured and transferred. So does App State. Yeah. A lot of guys on defense. Took a lot of snaps. They're out of here as well. Just to maybe touch on that, you want to look into it a little more. A few D linemen, a linebacker, I think a corner or two. So
no doubt.
Go through all that.
Juan and Cole in the transfer portal. So again, the only quarterbacks, you got the freshman Gillen, and you've got Billy Wiles actually as well, who actually has experience with Clemson and Southern Miss. So maybe he gets the start. But anyway, that's definitely a wait and see, because I don't mind Wiles. Wiles has a lot of experience. He's been at other. If it's Wiles, I'm more interested in App State plus the points in this game. I think if he gets the start, but that's not a sure thing, at the moment. All right, Coastal Carolina and Louisiana Tech, the Independence Bowl, Shreveport, Louisiana, where we have Louisiana Tech, La Tech, 9-point favorites here in this game, and the total sitting at pretty much across the board in the 51.5 range as far as this game goes. I think the thing that you notice here first of all, with Coastal Carolina, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see Samari Collier. I remember I just started riding all those Coastal games over the total when Samari Collier was at quarterback, because that's when the offense started to improve and they used that RPO type offensive system, which fit Collier very well. But then Collier got hurt, in the latter part of the season, and Tad Hudson, our guy Tad, ended up back in at the quarterback spot for Coastal, and that's when the offense went down again. So the idea of now it is Tad Hudson with a bunch of opportunity to ramp up for bowl season here, if indeed he is the starting quarterback, and you would think he would be here in this game, because he does have 205 pass attempts, started the majority of games this year. His numbers aren't great, 55.6% completions, 9 games, 942 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Let's not kid ourselves. His numbers aren't great. Tad Hudson here for Coastal Carolina. But, can the bowl practices help? That's going to be the big question. You look at this Louisiana Tech team on the defensive side of the football. The numbers against the run are pretty solid. They're a little bit weaker against the pass, but you're talking about an offense that's not great with throwing the football with Coastal Carolina, with Hudson. So it's kind of like their weakness versus Louisiana Tech's greater weakness. This is more of a run-heavy offense for Coastal, and that's what Louisiana Tech does a better job defending, the run. So, if things going to work here, we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, for Louisiana Tech going into this bowl game, they're an offense that at times looked absolutely incredible and at times also struggled. But one thing we've seen from this team down the stretch of the season is that, they turned to Trey Kukuk at the quarterback spot, who's actually it was their third quarterback, third string, third on the depth chart, but ended up taking over down the stretch of the regular season, and I thought he got better as things went along. He certainly played, they didn't ask for him to do too much against Missouri State. He actually only completed 8 passes, but his ability to run just devastated Missouri State. He had 172 rushing yards. The guy can move. He is a very mobile quarterback, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're going up against Coastal Carolina, noting the fact that on the defensive side of the football, the Chanticleers this year giving up 211.1 rushing yards per game, 5.3 yards per carry. That's in the 130s in college football against the run. Awful defense against the run. And knowing that this is a quarterback that's known more for running the football than throwing it, could be a good matchup. The thing that stands out here, C-Mac, is a team total maybe for Louisiana Tech. That's kind of what I had circled in this game. That way you don't have to worry about Coastal's offense, because I think the concern with the 51.5 going over, what if Coastal does nothing? Because I think that's a potential here, that this team does struggle to move the football here against this La Tech defense. So I feel better about isolating the Bulldogs here. Louisiana Tech team total over. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, it shows. I think this total's light for a Coastal team if you've been taking them over all year long. I mean, you've been winning because that's how bad the defense is. Like La Tech doesn't even have to throw it a ton. I mean, they average 200 on the ground, and this team's 131. They give up 211. Coastal, and they've just gotten gashed. You know, towards the end of the year, talked about with the quarterback for Coastal is going to be Hudson. I mean, what was their last two games? South Carolina and James Madison, right?
They're a very tough defenses and opponents. Yes, no doubt.
Yeah, solid teams compared to when you're playing like Georgia State,
right,
Georgia Southern, Marshall, some of these teams. You know, can they have a little success? I think so. I mean, I think they could score here. Maybe not crazy. This Louisiana defense has been good, not great throughout the year. And I just wanted to double check this one. I mean, they just have a few transfers.
Yeah.
The kind of their second running back for La
Tech.
Tech.
No weather issues to speak of as of now. Forecast looks good.
Yeah. And for Coastal, of course, Beck gone. The DC is going to be the head coach right here, Johnson. Just more like injuries, not a whole lot of transfers for Coastal. I don't know. It's just starting to get rich, and maybe Coastal's just not motivated for this. This is when you got to get to the source, get to the articles a little bit.
Early returns are the head coach being out of there, like whether he's fired or he leaves for another job here in the bowl game, has been bad for that team. We saw it with old South Florida. Against Old Dominion, and Old Dominion beat him outright as a dog. We'll see later today. We'll see with Washington State.
Yeah,
that's my concern with them against Utah State in the Potato Bowl, that their coach is gone now, and it usually means bad things for them in the bowl game. It happened to South Florida, obviously, last week. So that would be the concern with Coastal here. That's why I like pinpointing Louisiana Tech more and the team total. But I hear you with the defense for Louisiana Tech. It's okay. It's not great. Maybe Coastal can do enough for the 51.5 to get there, to get up and over. Yeah, no doubt. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, this is also next Tuesday, December 30th, Music City Bowl, Nashville, Tennessee, and Illinois. This is always an SEC versus Big Ten bowl game, and that is the case here, Tennessee and Illinois. Tennessee, 2.5 point favorites. 61.5, 62, the total in this game. Now, the first thing that stands out is obviously this game's in Nashville. Should be a good following of fans from Knoxville coming down here. So, it's obviously going to be more burnt orange in the crowd of Tennessee. There's no question about that for this bowl game. I don't know if I trust them, though, with everything that's been going on. And Illinois last year was also in a bowl game against an SEC team. They played South Carolina. They were a dog. They won outright. So Illinois has shown you, an ability to compete with and hang with, at the very least, these mid-tier SEC teams. I wouldn't say Tennessee's like a elite SEC team. They're a mid-tier SEC team.
Right below, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Like A,
their offense is really good. I still think their defense absolutely sucks, Tennessee. It's just not very good, and it wasn't very good all year. The question is going to be, what are you going to get from Tennessee on the defensive side of the football? It is worth noting, though, a couple opt-outs to the draft, including Chris Brazzell, who to me throughout the course of the season was maybe their best receiver for Joey Aguilar in the passing game. So to be without him is a loss for Tennessee here in this bowl game. That's something that would concern me going into it. They've also got a couple on the defensive side of the football that may be out as well. They're going to have basically a new interim defensive coordinator because the old defensive coordinator Tim Banks was fired, and I I totally get why Josh Heupel's doing that. It was a bad defense. Obviously, you got to throw someone under the bus when the defense is that horrific for much of the season, and you just throw the DC overboard. So that's exactly what they did there with that, coming off that 45-point debacle against Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores. What we've said about Illinois all season long is, here's the problem with Illinois, is that you look at their games against better teams, better offenses. Tennessee does have, I would say, a top 25, top 30 offense. I think that's fair with Aguilar, that they were very good offensively. And that's my concern, because I want to back Illinois. I actually did bet Illinois already in this game. Got a better number than what's out there right now. I got in at 4.5 on Illinois. I still lean that way at 2.5. The problem is, can their defense contain Tennessee? Because Illinois gave up 63 to Indiana, 32 to USC, 27 to Purdue, 34 to Ohio State, 42 to Washington. Somehow Wisconsin even got 27 points. Wisconsin got into the 27-point range against Illinois' defense. So that's the big fear I have for Illinois, even though I like their offense and Altmaier to do some things here and be able to move the football here in this game. And another concern, too, is that they've got a couple of players banged up on defense, a couple of players that opted out, one key one on the defensive side of the football here as well. One thing that Brett Bielema said, too, is that some players of his are going to be in the transfer portal, but if they want to play, they can. So even though there's players in the transfer portal, some of these guys still might end up on the field playing here. And remember, this is Illinois getting a chance to play an SEC team. Sometimes that resonates more with kids. When you have a chance to play a team from the mighty Southeastern Conference, it gets you a little more stimulated. So Illinois in the over, kind of what I'm eyeing here as far as a side and total. C-Mac, what do you think? Music City Bowl.
Shout out to a few guys here already. PlayStation, Nicholas Handy, great to see you, my dude. Up here, Action Jackson. He said that's the bottom line because Babano said so. A little Stone Cold.
I know, a little Stone Cold Steve Austin back in my day when I actually watched wrestling, when I actually watched WWE, which hasn't been the case for 20 years. But, yeah, no motivation for the kids to go hard. And it goes back to what I'm saying right now. Where was that one game where it was just, you could tell? It was Friday. Kennesaw and Western Michigan. I live bet Western Michigan. I could tell right away.
You could just see the, yeah, you could see it.
Nothing to do with this football game. And I bet them live, even at a bad number. I said, they're just going to pile it on, and they did. Won it easily.
I think Illinois, man, you got a great number by grabbing this.
Yep.
Because I'm now at 2.5. I lean that way because I think they are. This isn't crazy motivation. I don't think these teams, of course, wanted a lot more. But it's like, will they get enough stops? But I think they can move the ball on Tennessee here a little bit. It's just goddamn games too fucking tricky, Just like they're getting more and more. Nobody gives a fuck. Some guys do. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't have a ton here. I just you nailed it all. I don't have anything. Next.
I also look at the fact that Tennessee's been an awful point spread team. They're 2-8 against the spread their last 10 games, and the two covers were Kentucky and Florida. Kentucky and Florida.
We talk about bad defenses laying points all the time. It's like bad mix. I bring it up all the time. Now this is short. Tennessee can maybe just take a money line here now, a little bit of juice. Yeah.
If you still
I would not fuck with
Illinois, even though you've missed the best of the number, just take the money line. Because they probably win this. If they cover, they win. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I kind of like how it's not crazy, but you mentioned off the top how the Big Ten's played against SEC. And some of these bowl games where it's just like Tennessee, are they really motivated? And these games could be tight, or even they beat them. You know what I mean?
Next up, Alamo Bowl from our good friends at Pub Sports Radio, of course, located right there, San Antonio. Where this bowl game is every year. USC TCU. USC 6.5 point favorites here in this game. Alamo Dome, San Antonio. Total here sitting at looks like 55.5 is what we're looking at here for this bowl game. This is always one of the more, group. The New Year's Six non-playoff bowl games. This is one of the more marquee games. This and the Holiday Bowl, always stand out as two of the bigger non-New Year's bowl games or playoff games. historically, because this bowl game's been around for as long as many of them. USC is obviously always a team we've got to be concerned about as far as players opting out. Looks like Jaden Mayava is going to play for USC, but it doesn't look like he's going to have, you can probably say, his 3 top weapons on offense. It looks like Lake McCree, the tight end, and then both Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon are not going to play here for USC, and that's like I said, definitely something that would concern you. There's going to be some new skill position weapons as far as this game is concerned. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the situation shakes out. I'm seeing that there's a linebacker. There's definitely some players in the secondary that look like they may not suit up here for USC as well. So that's something obviously to keep in mind going into this game. Big news on the other side right now. So my first thought is it's hard for me with everything that's going on with opt-outs and players likely not suiting up here. Very, very difficult to back USC. I maybe look at TCU, but then comes the news, Josh Hoover, their quarterback in the transfer portal. He's not playing in this bowl game. And obviously, that's the guy that's been their starting quarterback all season, for this Horned Frogs team. Ken Seals. Remember that guy, Vanderbilt?
Oh, yeah. Come on. Come on now.
Back in our
Kenny? Shit. He sucks. No offense to Kenny, but
that's the issue, right? Now, look, he's been in the system. He's been on the program all year. Hasn't played much at all. I don't think he's played a lick because Hoover's been healthy all year. Hoover gone, though, means Ken's. Now, the one thing I'll say about Ken Seals, a lot of experience. I don't know if it's good experience, but it's experience for Ken Seals as a college football quarterback. 3 years at Vanderbilt where he played 27 games at Vanderbilt. He actually got into 5 games last year with TCU, actually his second year with TCU, and he did get into 2 games this year, 6 pass attempts. But overall, you look at the numbers with overall for his whole career, Vandy and TCU combined, Ken Seals has 23, 28, 29 touchdowns, but he has 23 interceptions. So not a great ratio. 29 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. And with Mayava playing for USC, you would think just at that position alone, there's a big advantage to USC here in this game. This is a tricky one, honestly, because you got Mayava, but he's missing some weapons. There's some defenders that are key that are going to be likely out for the Trojans. But you want to back TCU with Ken Seals, at quarterback here for TCU, and knowing that this TCU team on the defensive side of the football, when you see the way things finished, for TCU down the stretch, 44 allowed to BYU. Actually had a couple good defensive performances and victories against Cincinnati and Houston to close out the season. But whether they can, keep this USC offense in check, that remains to be seen. The total, believe it or not, we think of the Alamo Bowl as high scoring, but I get the reason people bet under here, 58 down to 55, simply because, the TCU defense is going to be playing against a weaker stable of skill position talent with USC, even though Mayava will play. And then on the flip side, USC's defense isn't great, but could they be good enough to slow down and neutralize and contain a TCU offense missing Josh Hoover and going to Ken Seals instead? Very possible. So, but I don't like betting overs in this Alamo Bowl. Alamo Bowl historically, in my mind, has been overs and a fast track, indoors, never any weather issues. So, not a strong opinion either side or total for me here, quite honestly. C-Mac here, Alamo Bowl, what do you think? USC, TCU?
I know it shows, I think, with the 6.5, with the line too, you're not getting over a touchdown in this game. Spoons Bets, what up, my man? Good to see you up in here. Follow my guy, Spoons.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think. Why is Mayava going to play here? I wouldn't play.
A little puzzled by that he is playing and everyone else.
Yeah, I was.
You think he might be a late opt-out? Maybe still. You never know. We've seen this before. Right now he's playing. Now he's playing, but we'll see in a week from now.
Yeah, we see it just days before that they're not going to go. I've seen enough Seals over the year. I think he could come in there and play. Turnovers are a problem, and this TCU secondary is still not very good. I thought it seems like the last 6-7 years, TCU defense always seemed rough. I always want to kind of fade them in their overs. They played better certain spots this year, Their corners were that's a little bit better. I mean, and they stopped the run a little bit more. I don't know if they can do that here, but I really don't want SC laying points. Truly, I don't. Do I have to bet this game? Fuck no. I know we're running through it, but this is just a total wait for me. Wait and see.
I've just got this weird feeling if this hits 7 or better, I'm gonna be a buyer in TCU. Not big bet, small bet only, but
they gotta feel at least. I know you have Seals, but like, fuck, we're playing USC. Yep. They're dogs here. The game. He
does have a shit ton of experience. Like this guy's been around a long time.
He's played. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's not just throwing out there. So there's that.
And I saw an interview he did with the press yesterday. He seems excited. Like he's really, really amped to get this opportunity because he didn't expect it. And he knows his college career, I believe, is over after this game. He's out of eligibility.
Doesn't mean he plays good, but yeah, I like the confidence.
Last hurrah for our guy Ken Seals. To ride off into the sunset, throwing 400 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. No, I'm kidding. He's probably not going to do that. I'm leaning TCU. I'll be honest. If I had to throw something out there, lean over, and I do lean over just because it's in a dome. But TCU, if it hits 7 or more, I might be involved. All right, let's go to the New Year's Eve bowl schedule. Wednesday, December 31st, and this is a good one. Early, noon Eastern on New Year's Eve. Iowa, Vanderbilt. We've got Vanderbilt 6-point favorites, 47.5. The total. This is the ReliaQuest Bowl. This used to be known as the Outback Bowl. Hello, mate. Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, Outback.
A new sponsor, ReliaQuest Bowl. And it's still in the same venue, though. Home of the Bucks, Raymond James Stadium down there in Tampa. I don't know. My gut's telling me Iowa plus the points, C-Mac, and you know I love Vanderbilt. I love Diego Pavia the season he's had. I didn't love the way he acted when he lost the Heisman there. That was a bit of a douche move. Not very impressed with that. But nevertheless, it was. I'm talking about him as a football player. He's had a great season. There's no doubt, no question about that. And this Vanderbilt team has rallied around him. I've seen nothing so far from all indications that tells me he's for sure out. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, he's saying he's playing. This is another one where let's see if he actually does. Yeah, right now he's in. Yeah. Clark Lee has not announced him out. And we have seen, and it looks like nobody's opted out for Vanderbilt. That's the one concern. Sounds like Vanderbilt's actually invested in this damn thing. And I wasn't expecting that. A team that was very good, but missed out on the college football playoff. Now you're in this bowl game. So I thought Vanderbilt would be the poster child for maybe disinterested. I expected Pavia to maybe opt out of this game. But we haven't heard any of that yet. All the starters, really, both sides of the football, nary an opt-out, nary an indication so far that, hey, we're not playing. So that's why I haven't moved on Iowa yet, because I thought, oh, geez, there's no way Pavia is going to play in this game, but he still might. And if he plays, I'm not as interested in fading Vanderbilt if that's the case. But again, we don't know that for sure yet. Blaze Berlowitz would start for Vanderbilt if Diego Pavia doesn't suit up here for the Commodores in this ReliaQuest Bowl. That's what I'm waiting on. This is just definitely a game you got to wait on. I don't know how you bet Vanderbilt until you know for sure that Pavia and all the starters as of now are in, and we right now they're in. But you know how things can change. How many times have we heard all of a sudden 2-3 days before you don't want to be in a spot where you're betting Vanderbilt now, assuming they're all playing. Saturday rolls around or, day before the bowl game, and here comes the opt-outs, because I've seen that before, where it's like a day before the bowl game, and all of a sudden you hear, oh, my God, 6 starters on offense are out, 5 starters on defense are out, quarterback's out, and then you're left with stuck betting a bad number because the money then is going to pour in on the other side. If you ask me, gut intuition tells me Pavia is not going to play. I just can't see it personally, especially now with he lost the Heisman. I don't see it. So I'm interested in Iowa, and Iowa we know in the bowl games has been good in recent years under Ferentz. Kirk Ferentz has a good track record in bowl games covering, for the most part. We've seen Iowa bring that a little bit to the table, in bowl games in the past. And obviously their offense, by the way, we should point out, Mark Gronowski the South Dakota State transfer. Throwing the ball's a little, spotty for him, but he can run. And they finally committed to we're going to let this guy use his ability to run and his legs down the stretch, and it paid off a little bit for this Iowa offense. The Iowa defense, meanwhile, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see if they can contain Vanderbilt. But the strength of this Iowa team, as far as their defense, their secondary is very good, and they actually have pretty good numbers against the run too. So this feels like a game where even if it is everybody playing for Vandy, including Pavia, they're going to have to work for what they get on the offensive side of the football. So, but I'm not totally sold Pavia or the vast majority of starters are playing as it seems like they are at the moment. So right now I'm still leaning Iowa. We know Vanderbilt's a better dog than a favorite. That's another thing that goes into this, but leaning Iowa right now. Can't move on this till I get the official word who's in, who's out, especially on the Vanderbilt side. C-Mac, what do you think here? Iowa, Vanderbilt.
I think both these teams are motivated. We got a rare one that's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So to me, that just leads to an under when I see both these defenses as well. I've seen them get burned a few times, though. Of course, throughout the season, a couple of both these teams. But for the most part, Iowa wants to run it about 180 yards a game. Vandy, one of the better run defenses, right around top 15, near there, basically all year long. So they're going to play slow. They want to grind out games. And kind of in the end, it's these teams, can they score in the red zone a little bit in these big games? If that happens, it might go over. If it doesn't, we start to see field goals. But yeah, I mean, for a person who's like back, just basically Vandy or stayed off them for 2 years. But a lot of those, I'd say almost all of them as a dog. I mean, I might have took them laying like a field goal or below a couple times. It's tough. I think the number's a little bit. When I see Iowa at this price, I'm interested just because how they play, how they're sound defensively. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes, and that keeps them in ball games. And I think it could keep them in here. To touch on real quick. So I got Kelly here. What about this game, Babano? It's moved back up to 50 and a half. You want to touch on this game today real quick? Because I have a whole lot of nothing. Washington State just totals drop.
Utah State bet. I think I mentioned that last week. I'm on Utah
Did
State.
You?
I just think they're a little bit. And again, just fading the team losing their head coach, which has worked so far. Look at South Florida. Perfect example. Yeah.
Because Washington State, if they're not they're the better defense here. They're the better team, but this is flipped.
Yeah.
Utah State, one thing, they could move the football, but they don't have the best defense. Can Washington State still do something? Like, this is a tricky game. The good old Albertson Stadium.
Albertson Stadium. I don't think the weather's that bad. Like, you're not.
It's pretty nice, I think.
Now, I certainly wouldn't bet under now. It's
took a little dip up in the last hour to 50 and a half.
Right. Weather's fine. Too.
Yeah.
No issues. It's going to be 49 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour. That's as good as it gets for Boise, Idaho, late December. So the weather's going to be fine here for this game, no doubt. All right, Sun Bowl. This is New Year's Eve, as it always is. CBS every year. Shout out to Gary Danielson, who will be calling this game with Brad Nessler on CBS, his usual partner, and this will be his final game in the booth. He's retiring after this season. Gary Danielson.
Good for him.
So he's been around a long time, man. I mean, we're old enough. Gary Danielson was doing television in the 80s and 90s in college football, when we were just much younger at the time. He's
a quarterback back in the heyday, too.
That's right. Yeah. Gary D. Yeah. And this will be the last time on television for him. So happy retirement to him. He's been around. He's worked with so many different partners. He worked with Brent Musburger for a long time on ABC, ESPN, way back in the 90s, early 2000s. Then he worked with, obviously, Vern Lundquist for many years, doing the CBS games on Saturdays. And, of course, when Vern retired, Brad Nessler. Ever since. So, yeah, he's been around a long time. So, all the best to Gary D after this game. This will be his final game, his final broadcast. We got Duke 3-point favorites here, 49.5, the total here in this game. Obviously, when you look at Arizona State, Sam Levitt's out of there. We've known that for a large part. But, again, it looks like at the moment, Jeff Sims, who's got, again, it's like Ken Seals all over again. It's experience. I don't know if it's always great experience, but Jeff Sims is going to be the quarterback here for Arizona State in all likelihood here. He did hint, though, Dillingham, that the freshman may actually get into the game and play a little bit too. So this could be one of those split quarterback situations. Cam Dyer is the freshman quarterback here for Arizona State. And I think because, look, Jeff Sims probably not going to be here next year. It's almost like we kind of try to get this Cameron Dyer kid ready for next season now that Sam Levitt is transferred out. So I think that's kind of what Kenny is thinking there, that and maybe giving Cam Dyer some opportunities here in this game. They've also got a couple of defenders out. A left tackle is out in the transfer portal as well for Arizona State. So all of this is a little bit concerning. Jordan Tyson opt out, and we saw how much
running backs out, right?
Yeah, he's opted out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and we know how much the offense, especially in the passing game, has relied on him this year. No question about that. There's other potential opt-outs, injury situations. On the Duke side, they've got a defensive end, Wesley Williams, that's declared for the draft, but Manny Diaz saying he's going to play. It looks like the rest of the defense is in, for this game. Darian Mensah is going to play. He's not going to go into the NFL draft from all indications, not declare for that. So you would think Darian Mensah is available to play. I mean, everything points Duke right now. And the Dukes come in with a little bit of money. They obviously now, but I always get concerned betting on the conference champion, and obviously Duke upset Virginia to win the ACC championship. And sometimes I don't like backing that team in the bowl game because that's the big prize, and the bowl game's a bit of an afterthought. But it's hard for me to back Arizona State with everything that's going on right now involving them. So right now, at anything at -3 or better, the lean for me has to be toward the Duke side. C-Mac, what do you think?
I can't take Duke. Not after that win. I can't do it. Even with everyone, and then Arizona State has just all their weapons, their quarterback out. I mean, they're just going to run it, basically, with Sims, and not having – when he had Brown, I thought that was big. Tyson's already out with him being out. Yeah. I mean, I guess, Dillingham signing's like a good thing. Maybe rah-rah for Arizona State a little bit.
That concerns me too. Nobody can get a team, motivated when you don't think they would be for a bowl game. Like Kenny D is a good motivator. He is when he's talking to the media. The guy is eloquent. That guy's got the gift of gab, baby. Yeah, like me.
Hey, sometimes that's what you need. Just fucking motivation. Yeah. I mean, Duke. That was the best they looked all year long. Defensively, as bad as Virginia was, maybe it was a little bit of a combo in that game because it sure as hell surprised me. I mean, that's just the team playing up for the moment because that defense sucks for Duke. They're not very good. Now their offense is pretty good. This one's tough. I just don't want to lay points with them after winning that. I mean, that seems like the season is maybe right there.
I know the Duke defense was ass, but it was a lot better against Virginia in that title game, in that ACC title game. Maybe.
I mean, it would be controlled by Arizona State. I wouldn't be running to the window. I don't know. God damn. These bowl games is this one team's not motivated. Like, there's 0 points. He can keep a game under, which did last week, like 2 or 3. Their team scores 40.
Crap and it stays under because only one team does all the.
Yeah, they score a touchdown. Yeah, it's like 40-7. Game stays under. Yeah.
This is a perfect example of a bowl game. Maybe best to watch live the first 5-10 minutes and see who is amped up, who's in, who's excited, who's playing hard, who's not.
Yeah, and we'll see. Like some of these days, I don't think here, but there's a lot of games on this day, right? This is a New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, we've got
so everyone's sitting around.
Playoff game at night, the first playoff game. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're itching for action, maybe listen to everything or watch some of this game and just bet live, which I think, I hate to say it, we go through it's more and more is what I do often, or even if you think a game's going to go and get your money back in a loss, just that. So I think in a lot of these games look that way.
All right, next up, we've got the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Eve. Michigan, Texas 7.5-point favorites, 46.5 the total. I'm not going to get into the Sharon Moore stuff. I mean, it's awful, obviously. It's horrific when you read about what went on with the little affair with the person inside the university, and then, of course, has spaz out moment when all this came to light. and what ended up happening, ended up getting arrested and all that. We're not going to go into that other than to say how it affects this Michigan team on the football field. Obviously, they let him go. They fired him. And Biff Poggi, it's a guy that was the Charlotte head coach and has worked with the Michigan program going back to when Jim Harbaugh was here. He's the interim head coach right now. I think this whole situation, I mean, it's hard for me to want to back Michigan. Everything that's going on with Moore, and how focused, how into this bowl game are the kids now because of this. And another thing to note, too, is that their offensive coordinator went to Missouri, whether Chip Lindsey, so whether he's going to be involved in this bowl game is another question. There's so many moving parts here for Michigan that makes it hard to back them. Plus, they might not have Bryce Underwood. There's a very good possibility he's one of the opt-outs, and there could be a lot of them as we move closer to this start of this game. Now, do you want to lay 7.5 now with the Texas Longhorns is the question that you have to ask yourself. I found it hilarious seeing these tweets that Arch Manning has decided it's best in his best interests to come back and not declare for the draft and come back for another year at Texas. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, come on.
The season he had. Yeah. Come on. Of course he's got.
He needs a lot more work
going
done.
to the NFL draft on a season like that when everyone's touting him as the Heisman favorite, and he totally way underachieved. So, like I said, I don't know if I want to lay 7.5. I don't know where Michigan's heads are at. I'll be honest, this is just a tough game for me to get involved with either way, quite honestly, right now, especially at the current number. I think if you got below 7 with Texas, good for you. I'm still not excited to lay more than 7.5 because keep in mind, you got the playoff disappointment factor weighing over the Texas Longhorns that they, felt maybe after beating A&M in the finale that maybe, just maybe, they would have squeaked in to the playoff, and they didn't. So now how enthusiastic are they for this Citrus Bowl appearance against Michigan? That's also something that's in the back of my mind, a major concern about laying the 7.5. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, I don't want a whole lot to do with it. If Michigan's in this, it's an under, I think. They're just going to run the ball, try to lean on their defense, and some of the athletes that they have, because I don't think they want to get in the shootout. And, I thought Texas played well, of course. I think they hung a big number on a bad Arkansas defense at least, and then they beat A&M, which we were on. We talked about that game at home, 27-17. And what do you make of their defense? I thought last year was really good, pretty good to start the year. At times in games played well, and it gave up some huge numbers to other teams. There's 38 to Mississippi State.
7 or 8 Texas defensive players that are going to.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Many of them starters. The defensive coordinator got fired as well. That's another thing. And so Pete Kwiatkowski, so Will Muschamp already been hired as the new DC. So not only are you missing a ton of defensive starters, but you've got a new DC. So the system on that side of the ball, is there a breakdown in cohesion now because the DC's out of there, and you got a bunch of new faces that are going to be lining up and starting on defense here for Texas. That's kind of why there's a pathway. If Michigan's got some semblance of their offensive players and starters in there, there is a pathway to Michigan maybe scoring some points, but that's a big if who's going to play on that side of the ball for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I remember too, Texas beat them last year too, pretty bad, I think, at Michigan. Remember that game? I know it's last year. I just was going through it. 31-12. Yeah, that's all I got. This is a wait.
Big house, yeah, 31-12. Yep.
There's still a few guys that remember it probably.
Quinn Ewers,
what you think?
Was the quarterback.
He was. Yep. We saw him this weekend.
Some good, some bad.
Good. So yeah, well, the bad started showing up
in the second half once the defense got a chance to make adjustments. Al Golden, yeah. Good stuff. That's a tough game. It's a tough game.
That is tough.
Game for me. I'll be honest. There's things that tell me I could still bet Texas even at a bad number, and there's also things that tell me, if Michigan has more starters involved, and there is a lot of missing on defense for Texas, that maybe Michigan can keep this game competitive. So,
one score game maybe.
Yep. Got to know more though. So that's why
I think we'll see more too. It's kind of this first run. I mean, are we just going to keep seeing blowouts? We've talked about that where there's some motivation. Some teams just no one cares about the fucking. I mean, Citrus Bowl. These bowls used to a little bit of juice. No juice.
Yeah.
No juice on these games. A little bit of squeeze out of it. I guess. Nah. Goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, that's the concern, right? No doubt. All right, next up, we've got Nebraska and Utah. Utah 15.5-point favorites, 50.5 the total in this game. This is actually, and you know I'm not big on double-digit favorites in bowl season, but this is lay it or don't play it for me. This is Kyle Whittingham's retirement game, guys. He's retiring at the end of the season. He is coaching this bowl game, by the way, for Utah. It's a send-off game, and I would expect Utah to be fully focused, fully motivated, fully invested, fully dialed in here.
Look at the line. Shit.
Against Nebraska. And, the only question is who exactly, are we going to see suiting up here for a Utah? But at the moment, they've got, a couple of offensive tackles and a defensive end that have opted out. But other than that, looks like everyone, he's going to coach in this bowl game. They've got the defensive coordinator that's at the moment, Utah likely going to take over, Morgan Scalley, the defensive coordinator. But this is lay it or don't play it. I think this is a send-off game, and I don't know if I trust Nebraska's offense to move the football here in this game. Keep in mind with Nebraska, Devin Dampier, and even if Devin Dampier doesn't play, Bird is the word. Bird Ficklin, this guy, when he played for Utah second half of the year, played all right, and he's got a lot of experience. So to me, this is Utah or pass, regardless of who's at quarterback, whether it's Dampier, whether it's Bird Ficklin. Here.
Who's going to play quarterback for Nebraska, though? Lateef, he got hurt at the end. Is he going to play?
That's what I was just going to get into is the fact that, obviously down late in the season, we saw the injury, of course, to Dylan Raiola. He didn't play. He's definitely not playing here. And TJ Lateef, who took over, he's got an injury situation. Now, it looks like he, with his hamstring injury, he was practicing a couple of weeks ago. Makes me think that he's going to be good enough to start here. So at the moment, I think it's TJ Lateef for Nebraska, but it's a guy that I don't know if I trust here. If Utah's motivated, we know how good their defense can be. It would be a hard time for me thinking that Nebraska's going to have a ton of offensive success here. Yeah, I've definitely got this circled. This could end up being a go for me. Utah either laying the points or maybe team total over in some capacity here in this game. Because another thing, too, to factor in is that every time Nebraska faced some semblance of an offense, they had problems. They definitely struggled against better, more explosive attacks. And I don't know what happened to their defense down the stretch, but come on. You give up 37 points to Penn State and Grunkemeyer, and you give up 40 points to Iowa in your last two games. That's a defense that's collapsed. So this is Utah. Lay it or don't play it for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think so, too, is they're going to really show up, here in Las Vegas for it. I mean, this is a short trip, for them, for Utah. They love just an excuse to come to Vegas to get tanked and watch this game.
Oh, yeah. For Whittingham's final game, no doubt they'll be there. They'll show up. Yeah, they will.
The only way Nebraska,
they'll be there. The fans. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think they'll be there and be pumped up for it. He won't be with Lateef. I mean, he can't throw the football on you. Can they run it here? That's the biggest thing. Can Nebraska run it on this Utah defense? Maybe. It showed some cracks at times. But the Nebraska defense, like you talked about, especially at the end of the year. I mean, they beat UCLA, I know, in that game, but you talked about those last couple losses, 37-40. That could be a similar outcome here. Not a lot of love for me with Nebraska at all. Under on their wins, too.
Yep.
They didn't win any games.
Yep. And the excuse machine is already starting from Matt Rule saying, I know we're not Indiana. We didn't turn it around as quickly as they did, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I like how he threw that out there in his press conference the other day. Give me time. Just give me some more time. Give me just a little more time. Remember that song from the 70s? Chairman of the board?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The coach's favorite thing to say. Give me more time. Yep. Give me a new contract. Give me more time.
Exactly. All right. Well, speaking of time, it's time for us to start talking playoff games where we have two teams that are equally motivated. Here we go. College football playoff quarterfinal in the Cotton Bowl, Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Miami. Hurricanes, Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State 9.5-point favorites, 42.5 the total here in this game. Look, I took the L with A&M. We'll fully admit it. I just didn't trust Miami. Part of the handicap was right. I said Miami's going to struggle offensively on the road against that A&M defense and that environment, and they did. Beck didn't do much early, but what I wasn't expecting is that the A&M offense would be that bad, really bad. I was so disappointed in that game in Reed and what we saw from the A&M offense. They couldn't get anything, and I mean anything, going on the ground, even with Le'Veon Moss back, Reuben Owens II. They combined for 14 rushes, 36 yards. Terrible. And you got to give Miami credit. Their run defense was outstanding. I don't deny that Miami in the trenches, especially on defense, is really strong, really, really good. And that's clearly the strength of the team. And it was good enough. They shut down the Texas A&M rushing attack. Reed wasn't good enough in the passing game to overcome it. 2 critical interceptions, including right at the end, when they were trying to tie the game late. So they deserved to lose. The offense was just a mess, A&M, and Miami was just a little bit better on defense. And they held A&M out of the end zone, and A&M can't say the same thing. With the game on the line, they gave up the big rushing yards to Fletcher, who broke loose a couple of times, ended up having 172 rushing yards, Mark Fletcher, in that game. So give Miami credit, but let's be careful here. Yes, it was a great win, finally showed they could win a big game, but this Ohio State defense is one of the best defenses in the country, and they've been just absolutely dominant all year. And what I saw to Carson Beck and that Miami offense doesn't give me a boatload of confidence that they're going to roll into the Cotton Bowl and move the football with a great deal of success here against this Ohio State defense. That's what worries me here. And keep in mind these Ohio State numbers. Miami's got to be able to run the football because Beck throwing it, you don't want to trust him in a one-dimensional offense. And this Ohio State defense against the run, as good as it gets. I mean, 2.8 yards per carry, 84.5 rushing yards per game. Remember, when they lost to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, the key plays that gave Indiana the chance to move the football was Mendoza in the passing game through the air. It's not like Indiana had a ton of success running the football. Trusting Beck to have that same success through the air, I don't. I just simply don't, quite honestly. So if Fletcher gets shut down in this game, which, look, A&M did a bad job not containing him with those key runs. Beck being able to do something through the air concerns me here. The money's poured in on Ohio State. I kind of agree with it. 9.5's a pretty big number because you do have to factor in Miami's defense is still pretty good. And Julian Sayin and Ohio State's offense against probably one of the best.
They had troubles, yeah. They got down there.
Anna, they were giving up. The pass rush got home. Sayin was running for his life a bunch of times. That's concerning. They went up against a great defense in Indiana, and they had their issues. And Ryan Day got into this bad habit of his again. We're conservative, not aggressive. They end up settling for a field goal late. Now, the kid should have made it, but indoors, no excuse to miss it, but he missed it, and it's playing conservative, man, and that gets you beat, and it's a good defense you're facing. So I don't think Miami's doing anything on offense. I don't think they're moving the ball, but my problem with laying 9.5 now with Ohio State is, are they going to do enough offensively themselves to be in a position to win by double digits? Because the Miami defense, from what I saw against A&M, they have the capability of stepping up and testing Ohio State, very much like Indiana did. So my first thought is, how does this game not go under the total? I mean, I know it's 42.5 is a low number, but I think this is definitely a game where defenses are going to rule. C-Mac, what do you think here in the Cotton Bowl, the first of our 4 quarterfinals in the college football playoff?
Yeah, Miami. They played well. Defense played well to go into that place and to hold them down, I thought was really, really good. Because I got to give them credit. And after the win like that, I don't know if I want them. Some teams carry it on.
Miami, Florida. This is not Miami, Ohio. I just wanted to make sure we corrected that on the scroll there on the screen.
Oh, it is? Okay, I didn't even notice it.
I had Ohio in there.
I'm too fucking zoned on this game. But, I remember those 2 games, one at home where Moss threw for 250 and a couple touchdowns. Jennings had 365. Remember the SMU game?
Yeah.
And a touchdown. Can Ohio State, which I think this is going to be a pissed off Ohio State team. after everything that happened. We saw it a little bit last
Well, we
year.
liked Indiana because we thought Indiana just a little bit more invested in the Big Ten championship and winning it.
Yeah, very invested. And they had a defense.
On the playoff and another national title. Yeah.
I mean, all year they've been basically third. I mean, it's Ohio State, Texas Tech. We see Georgia, who's playing well. We're going to get to them. I mean, I think these are the best defenses left, basically here. So with that, I don't trust Carson Beck. I'm not, I didn't have anything on that game, last week. I'll take their team total under here, 15.5 with Miami. I'll dare them to score 17 points. I don't think they can at all. Even the first half, I know there's some spots with 21.5, first half under. There's a lot of 20.5s though too with the juice. So I was looking at that in this game. I think if you like Miami, you better hope Carson Beck is money against this defense. That's all. I mean, you better hope he brings it. He brings it. They cover this game. If he does it, and this line, it got 10.5. This is down to 9.5, 9 in a couple spots. So I mean, people saw that you get over the 10. These are key numbers we're talking here.
I'm with you. That's the best bet in this game is Miami team total under. That way you don't have to worry. Like because I could see this being like 10-10 in the fourth quarter. Ohio State wins 13-10, 14-10. It could be one of those games. Like I truly don't think it's going to be easy for either offense in this game.
Yeah, like I think Miami. I think these are the games too we talked about last week. You got maybe a little more trick plays, reverses. We saw that with Tony. I mean, he got the touchdown there, right?
Yep.
That you try to get to the outside with some of your playmakers against this good Ohio State defense. If that happens, they're definitely live in this game. So this is good. All these games are good.
What ticks me off is I should have been on Miami team total under instead of A&M -3. But I had faith in A&M offense, and it was obviously a bad decision for me to have faith in the A&M offense. If I had bet Miami team total under, even though they won the game, I would have cashed it because they did stay under their team total. Yeah.
This Miami, though, D-line, they got after it. They're pretty good all year. Yep. Team, I mean, get heat, I'm saying. I mean, they definitely could be in it. The high of that win, Michael Irvin, Cristobal over the hump,
him on the sideline,
kissing everybody. He's just like, is the gorilla off the back? It's not. Yeah. But, I mean, he was feeling it. He was definitely feeling like, goddamn, we got it done. We won this game. The big plays by the defense at the end, of course, the pick. So now you got to get revved up to an Ohio State team that just lost. That's how it rolls in college football right now.
All right, next up we go to New Year. That's New Year's Eve, by the way, this Cotton Bowl with Miami and Ohio State. The rest of the quarterfinals are on New Year's Day, and the first of the three, a triple header on New Year's Day of college football playoff quarterfinal games. The Orange Bowl, Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon 1.5-point favorites, 52.5 the total here in this game. Now I'm going to get into it. Yes, Oregon, clearly the speed on offense was too much for James Madison to handle. And they just just completely dominated in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. Oregon's offensive line versus James Madison's defensive line, start to finish, and they poured it on. Dante Moore played very well, too, in the passing game when he had to make plays. All that was great. They rolled through James Madison early, but I hated CMAC the way they finished that game, Oregon. I hate it. I thought it was awful. It's like falling asleep, lackadaisical, penalties, bad tackling all of a sudden in the open field, and James Madison ripping off big plays and big gains and allowing James Madison. They scored repeatedly once that game got into the late third quarter, fourth quarter. I just thought it was a sloppy, lackadaisical, lack of focus finish to a game that should have been an emphatic blowout for Oregon.
Hey, to all the people that bet Oregon that laid it.
Yes.
How fucking mad are they?
Yeah. I don't like it. From what I saw from Oregon, I think Texas Tech's been totally on top. They're the Jacksonville Jaguars of this college football playoff, especially of the teams that got buys. Everyone's talking more about Indiana and Ohio State, but no one's talking enough about Texas Tech. This is a damn good defense. No question about that. I know people are going to quibble and say, you faced the Big 12, you Big 12. Now let's see what you do against better teams. Okay, I do think they're a legit defense. I do. I think they're an excellent defense. Now, I do think they're going to be tested more than they did with a lot of their opponents. I will say.
Oh yeah,
Oregon's
that's for
level
sure.
of speed is definitely going to be a
Yes.
potential problem here for Texas Tech, as good as their defense has been, because it's the kind of speed they haven't seen very much this year, especially in the Big 12. But I think the Red Raiders offense, like this Oregon defense, again, even early in that game, James Madison's moving that ball easily in between the 20s.
That's what I was wondering. And they were moving it.
Oregon, James Madison. What got James Madison in trouble was the red zone efficiency, stalling.
Yeah, they got down there
constantly early in that game in the red zone and settling for field goals. And of course, they'd give up a quick touchdown the other way, and that's quickly how the game got away from them. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be on Texas Tech here. +1.5. I think they're disrespected. I think they're undervalued. I think they've got the better of these two defenses right now. I am concerned how they handle the Oregon speed. It's also why I think this could be a sneaky over, as long as the weather is going to be decent here in Miami on New Year's Day. Now, again, I'm going to look at the forecast now, but obviously, things can change quite a bit. This is, a long time away. This is going to be next Thursday. But as of now, I'm seeing, no precipitation. Winds won't be that bad. So if that stays that way, I think this could be one of these games that go over the total. Keep in mind, this Oregon defense, every time they've faced an offense with a pulse, we have kind of seen these teams give up some. We've seen this team give up some points. So Baron Morton and this Red Raiders attack, I think, is capable of doing that. Now, I will say the Texas Tech offense at times down the stretch wasn't as electric, wasn't as efficient, as they were early in the season. But I do have some concerns about the Oregon defense. There's no question, especially after the way they finished that game against James Madison. So right now for this Orange Bowl quarterfinal, C-Mac, Texas Tech lean or over lean for me as well here in this game. What do you think? Oregon, Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, just don't like to finish the game like that. I thought it was more, even though they moved it, the defense. I mean, there was that nice trick play that the wide receiver threw that 50-yard pass for James Madison. I mean, their little running back who's really good was running the ball, which I didn't see, and it was more in the second half, not the first. They were able to throw it, but you get a big lead like that, and they're just sitting back, a couple second stringers in, the game was blown out by then. And James Madison, no answer.
This is the round where Oregon got embarrassed last year by Ohio State. Oregon, won that first game in the first round pretty easily, but then they turned around and they got just destroyed by Ohio State here. That was in the Rose Bowl, but it was in this quarterfinal round of the playoff. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon has the somewhat strength, the schedule here. They beat, they lost to Indiana at home. They beat Iowa. They beat SC, Washington. Texas Tech still with theirs is top 20, but, they didn't play anyone in the SEC really. So I think Oregon, I don't know how much success, because I really like this Texas Tech defense. But I think this game's going to be close. That's why this number's there. I think Texas Tech too. I mean, I think this D-line, linebackers are some of the best in the country, and Moore is going to make some mistakes. And what gives here, Ivano? Oregon, that great running attack, that averages 220, whatever it is, against the number one team in the country, run defense in Texas Tech. I mean, I think that's the spotlight. And I think Texas Tech, their offense,
make it or break it matchup in this game.
Yeah.
Question. Yep.
Yeah. Can Oregon, do anything? I like Texas Tech. I mean, I thought the game would be about here. I even thought it might have been flipped.
2, not Oregon.
Yeah, or two. Yep. I mean, that's kind of what I thought. Yep. Maybe 1.5, 2, and it wasn't. I think this game is going to be good, but I'd rather have Texas Tech in this matchup.
All right, Rose Bowl, college football playoff quarterfinal, Alabama, Indiana. We've got Indiana 6.5-point favorites here in this game, and the total right now 48.5 across the board. This is very interesting. Indiana, they're legit. They're legit, and the idea of going up against Kurt Signetti with all this time to prepare for this bowl game and or this playoff game, getting the bye was big. They didn't get the bye last year. They had to start the playoff in the first round against Notre Dame, and of course they got ambushed in that game. This is a different Indiana team. They've shown it. Obviously they've got Mendoza, the Heisman winner, They've got a solid run game that's capable as well, with the combination of Kalen Black and Roman Hemby, who can both run the football between the tackles. Defense is outstanding. We saw that against Ohio State. There is something that does concern me, though, for Indiana. One of their best D linemen, in a freak accident after the win against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, got hurt, and he's not playing in this game. And it's a big deal because he's like one of the game breakers, one of the best players for this Indiana team on the defensive side of the football. And that's a real unfortunate turn of events, because he also happened to have a whale of a game in that Big Ten championship victory over Ohio State. So that's an injury concern for me with Indiana. How much of Alabama's win was Oklahoma shooting themselves in the foot? The John Mateer pick six really turning the momentum toward the Tide late in that first half. How much do you put on Oklahoma not playing well? How much of it do you put on Alabama finding their game, getting the pass rush going? I'll say this. Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, he turned up the pressure, dialed up the
needed
heat.
to. I talked about if they didn't get heat on Mateer. Like, they needed to do that. Keep going. Yeah, that was huge.
And that was a difference maker, because then they started to unleash, all of a sudden linebacker blitzes, safety blitzes, secondary guys started to rush the quarterback, and they couldn't handle it, Oklahoma, and John Mateer couldn't get away from it. And that's really when that defense kind of took over that game against Oklahoma and John Mateer. Can they employ that same game plan here versus Indiana? That's going to be the question. But like I said, it's unfortunate that that happened to Stephen Daly. It's just terrible. Torn patellar tendon. Are you kidding me? On a celebration? And this is a guy that's been a standout defensive lineman for them, no question. So, it's one of these games where, you're talking about Alabama with all that history, and they're getting 6.5, 7. But I also have a feeling that a lot of the public's going to be on Alabama because they just saw them come back and roar back past Oklahoma. I don't know if I'm that interested and that excited, to go against Curt Cignetti in Indiana here, because I think Indiana's legit. I think they've done enough to prove that now, with what they've done. They went to Oregon and they beat Oregon. What they did, winning the Big Ten championship here against Ohio State. But the number, like I said, they got to not only win, they've got to win by 7 or more. They got to do it against an Alabama team that has got confidence. Ty Simpson was great in the set. Not good, great. And if he plays like that, they're going to have a chance in this game. When he can throw the football like that, he's going to have a chance here in this game to move the football against Indiana. And then you got a coach in Kalen DeBoer that is, in a situation where, he just gets it done in these games. Like, he's a college football playoff coach. We've seen it in Washington. Took them all the way to the national championship. I know they didn't win it against Michigan, but they got there. He knows how to navigate this time of year. As amazing as Cignetti's been in 2 years, one of the great all-time, not just recent, all-time coaching jobs and resurrection jobs of a program in 2 years. One of the all-time best jobs. No question about that. There is still...
Can they finish the job?
You know how many playoff games he's won, Cignetti?
Yeah, hold it up.
Yeah. He's got to, that's so, and DeBoer's been here, won multiple playoff games. He's already got one this year. There's something to that makes me pump the brakes on taking Indiana here. I'll tell you this: if this gets to 7, I'll get to Bama at 7 or better for sure. I still might at this number, but certainly if this hits 7, Alabama might be in pocket. C-Mac, what do you think here, Rose Bowl?
There's some 7s still out here, minus 115. It has moving a little bit, to the 6.5. I think that's where the books want it here, 6.5. So.
Hey, I like if you're that confident, where's your national championship future? I hope you got it. If you're that confident, Bama's going to win it all. He says, "Yep."
You were hitting on. I thought Bama, the pressure that they put dialing up the blitzes.
Honestly, on Alabama to win it all, so I don't need another one.
Wow.
That was pretty.
All right.
Yeah.
Still, what was the number?
Let me just. I got to go in my list here, but it was preseason.
Okay.
Remember in our preview show. When Well, I said Kalen DeBoer now.
Pull the tape.
Year, Ryan Grubb back. That I thought this was a team that was going to be able to. They didn't win the SEC, but I thought they'd get in the playoff and have a chance. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The number I got preseason, Alabama to win the title, 12-1, plus 1,200.
Yeah. So with this, I worry about how big that win was and come back, but I think they're just as focused like here versus Indiana. How could you not be after how well you played? I think they will. That's one thing. So just put it in the chat. They got to try to run it. I don't know how they're going to run it, but you might just have to abandon that. And you're just like kind of they've been doing in these games. They had a little bit. How many yards did they have on the ground versus Oklahoma here? Real quick.
Alabama because you're right. That's obviously it's going to be tough as fuck.
They had nothing.
Indiana
28 yards.
Defense. Yeah, they had 43 yards on.
That's
carries from Daniel Hill. 11 yards on 7 carries from Jam Miller. So they got a little bit out of Daniel Hill.
Yeah. And Simpson had a couple sacks. That's why it was. Yeah. Okay. They got to try to do. I don't know how much they will, but I think they could throw the ball here a little bit. I think there's a little bit too much love for Indiana after we wanted them, how they were going to be pumped up for Ohio State, that how big that game was, why we liked it, like the under. And there's just another game, Ohio State beating Michigan, getting that done. So they're rolling in your eye. Heisman Trophy winner, Mendoza, what could go wrong here? Indiana just rolls, but I don't believe it. I talked last week with Alabama, and they got down early, and I was taking them live. Even I was like, holy shit. Then it all turned around. A big 4th down, touchdown, breakthrough. The punt, we're going to get special teams. A lot of these guys are pretty good. Alabama doesn't have the best kicker, I believe, right? His numbers were some of these kickers.
He's been up and down. He's been
up and down.
That being said, the mighty Oklahoma kicker, one of the best kickers in football, missed one in that game, a key one that pretty much ended the game. So tells you, kickers, you never know. Even if someone's great,
Hunter drops that ball.
Yep.
So boom, they block it, and then of course the pick 6. I just think at 7, I got to be on Bama. I have to be on Alabama here, plus 7. I know there's a little bit high from them winning, I think, but I think the number's too big in a game that could be really, really tight. Simpson's got to be good. He can't be the Georgia. If he's the Georgia game, they lose here and pretty big. But they have the weapons, I think, Alabama. And if he's on, this is definitely at least a tight game.
Sometimes you almost have to get the Men in Black neuralizer in your brain for anything that happened in the regular season, because I can't count how many times I've seen teams that look like they're limping going into the regular season, or limping at the end of the regular season, and then the playoff rolls around and they're a different team.
Yeah, remember, and everyone's saying they shouldn't have get in.
Yeah,
all that talk. They don't deserve to get in. Yeah, it's a bunch of bias.
That's why I think it's not totally impossible. Alabama goes on a run here. It's not totally impossible. Like I said,
Indiana's looked really good. They got
it's great.
So
we can all agree this is a great game to watch. This is fantastic. I can't wait. This is
Rose
probably
Bowl?
the one I'm most excited about of all the quarterfinals.
100,000 people there, whatever. Come on.
Yeah, that'll be special. That'll be big time, no doubt. They do have great weapons at receiver. I'll say that. If Ty Simpson can find time, the offensive line can block Indiana up front, which will be missing daily, of course. They can do that. They've got some good weapons. And that Lotsier Brooks stepped up, had a huge game against Oklahoma. And that's in addition to, Isaiah Horton, in addition to Josh Cuevas, in addition to Jeremy Bernard, Brian Williams. Like, they've got weapons. They got people that can catch the football, Alabama. So, like I said, that is going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. All right, our final quarterfinal will be the Sugar Bowl in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. We've got Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. Ole Miss, Georgia. Georgia 6.5-point favorites, 56.5 the total in this game. We'll see how this one plays out. This is a rematch of a regular season game, and what I said about Ole Miss going into the game against Tulane is Ole Miss did anything they wanted on offense against Tulane. What's going to change this time around? And sure enough, they had their way. 40 points again. won the game convincingly in that game against Tulane. Georgia, defensively, we know, can be very capable. But Georgia had tons of problems with Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss in the regular season game. And I know Georgia won the game 43-35, but wasn't because of their defense. Chambliss had 263 passing yards. That team had 21 points in the first half in that game. Georgia's defense adjusted, and Kirby Smart adjusted later in the game. Once Ole Miss got up by 35-26 in that game, and Georgia rallied from that 9-point deficit in the fourth quarter to score 17 unanswered points and turn that 16 or 9-point deficit into an 8-point win. But they had real issues in the secondary against Chambliss and that Ole Miss passing attack. What tactically, what personnel-wise can you scheme up, can you adjust if you're Kirby Smart to change that this time around, facing Ole Miss in this passing offense? And remember, it didn't look like the offense suffered for no Lane Kiffin against Tulane, because they still have Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator there, calling plays. And
yeah, but what about here, with him gone?
That's going to be the question.
We talked about that. I think that was easy. It was this game. It's going to matter.
Yeah, that's going to be the question mark here, is that now you're facing this Georgia team, no doubt. And like I said, is Charlie Weiss Jr. going to coordinate the offense here? I thought it was just one game against Tulane.
Why would he just do one game? That's the stupidest one. If they win,
the rest of the, I would assume he's in for the rest of the playoff. We'll see. But someone was saying that. I'm like, I can't see that. Why would he come back and be the play caller for the Tulane game, but if they advance, not still be the play caller and offensive coordinator for the game against Ole Miss and the rest of the playoff run? So that's the way I feel. I'm assuming he's going to be there to be the play caller again here for this game. I think the safer bet's the over here, because I think Georgia will move the football against this Ole Miss team as well. They put up 43 points, against Ole Miss's defense, and Ole Miss's defense is pretty good. But there's still that element to Ole Miss where when they really, really punched up in weight class at times this year, the defense was vulnerable in some of those games. And when you really look at it, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, they didn't face a ton of great offenses this year in the SEC in their schedule. They didn't play Alabama. They didn't play some of the other solid offensive teams in the SEC this season. They didn't face Tennessee, which has a pretty solid offense. They gave up 26 to Oklahoma, and they gave up 43 to Georgia in what I think is safe to say their two toughest games against best offenses they played here in SEC play. So, like I said, with this Ole Miss defense, I don't trust them to shut down Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia offense, because, again, we saw them give up 43 in the first meeting. And like I said, even Oklahoma was probably the next toughest team they played. And Oklahoma doesn't have the explosiveness week to week, always on offense. And Ole Miss is still giving up 26 points in that game against Oklahoma. So, like I said, I think Georgia's going to get theirs. I think I think Georgia will defend better against Ole Miss in this rematch than they did in the regular season meeting, but I don't think they're going to shut down Ole Miss completely. I don't think so, because I think when you look at this Ole Miss passing attack and you look at just the overall numbers of the Georgia Bulldogs defense this year, and you really match it offense versus defense, they were much weaker against the pass. They can stop the run, but this is a very pass-heavy offense now with Chambliss, and that's where they've struggled more, in the secondary. So the bet I like the most is the over. As far as the side is concerned, I don't like going against Kirby in these playoff games. It is 6.5, and in a game where I think Ole Miss is going to score, I don't love the idea of laying 6.5, but I'm not all that excited about fading Georgia either. I just feel the total's the better move, over 56.5 for me. C-Mac, what do you think here? Sugar Bowl quarterfinal, Ole Miss, Georgia.
Man, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be that many points in this game.
Really interesting.
I just don't think, as the first game, 43-35, right?
Well, that's the thing, 78. We still only need 57 here, like 31-20.
Oh, yeah.
I think it
could get over. These offenses are really good. One thing with Georgia, their secondary, I think, is leaky, but I think this defense is playing their best, or they held Texas to 10, Georgia Tech to 9, Alabama to 7. Where it was a struggle getting things together, I think the defense is playing well. So that, to me, is a little bit scary, and the offense even that could struggle early on in the year in some of these games. We talk about the first half of it. Chambliss is legit, though. This guy can take off and make plays when they struggle with him the first time. He's the key. Like, if he can make plays, it keeps him in this game big time. And Ole Miss, I think, has the weapons. Now, what do you make of their defense? I think it's pretty good. It's not great, Ole Miss, some of the numbers that they have. And that was just an easy cupcake win against last week against Tulane. We talked about it. I don't know how they could stop them. But, some of the numbers, Georgia doesn't throw it a ton, a little bit conservative. At times they should have success, though, running the football. This is one I think I'm going to be off here completely. I kind of lean that Ole Miss could hang around. Maybe I could get a better number live, over 10, 2 touchdowns. Because I think even if Georgia's up, they could maybe just hang within a couple scores in this game, that there's enough talent in it. And plus, they've seen each other. And I don't know, Lane Kiffin, like, is he this? Is he that big that he's gone? Is it that big a deal with the plays? He's a good coach. He's not great. Why has he been fired from fucking 10 places? All right, he ain't that good just because he's his old man. New defense, but whatever. I saw him at the Raiders. I saw him at SC, Tennessee. So I don't know if that's that big a deal. But yeah, I think Ole Miss, at least could hang around. I just seen this Georgia team. Someone put in the chat earlier, they haven't played, that is a minute, 2 or 3 weeks, but maybe a little bit of rust. But I just like how their defense kind of peaking a little bit towards the end of the year for Georgia. Not easy, and we just saw that last game, Savannah, Oklahoma, playing again. Both these teams will make adjustments, in this game, I think. You're on mute.
I say if you like Ole Miss, I'm not trying to talk you out of taking the +6.5 full game, but make sure you diversify your portfolio and take some first quarter, first half. How many times have we seen Georgia start slow? We've seen it over and over again this year. So I think if you like Ole Miss, it would actually be a benefit to you to not put all of your bet on the full game. Look a little first half, look a little even first quarter with Ole Miss here in this, especially
Georgia, though, turning that around.
Yeah,
the end of the year, though.
Well, they did. They had a couple games where they did start better. I agree, but again, they've also been off now for a long time. Multiple weeks. Yeah. The SEC championship game where they beat Alabama. So, like I said, that's something that could, at least throw off how efficient, and how cohesive and how sharp they are coming out of the gate here for this. Just something to consider, that if you like Ole Miss and if you plan on betting Ole Miss, that having a piece of the first quarter and or first half may not be the worst idea here in this one. But I like the over most of all, as you can tell. All right, let's move back to the regular bowl games. We got 4 more left. Armed Forces Bowl, Friday, January 2nd. Rice, Texas State in Fort Worth, Texas, home of TCU. Texas State, 11.5-point favorites, 59.5 the total. With how god-frickin' awful Texas State was as a favorite, there's no chance I'm laying this number with them. None. Zero. Not going to happen. But do you want to back Rice? Ends up being the primary question here for me in this game. At the moment, not seeing a whole lot in the transfer and opt-out department as far as this bowl game is concerned. Obviously, when you look at the matchup itself, I'll say this right now about Texas State. They're a team that against the run wasn't very good this season. Noticeable drop-off, 4.4 yards per carry allowed, 170 rushing yards per game allowed, 93rd in the country. Rice is going to run the football 90% of the time. They don't throw it very much. It's a run-heavy Rice offense. So from that standpoint, if the matchup says Rice can have success here, being able to run the football, if they have everybody playing, and available for this game, especially on the offensive side of the football, I think there's going to be opportunity for Rice to have success here in the run game, because that's basically what they do. They run the football. They don't throw it very much. It's an offense that obviously struggled against South Florida in that final game of the season. Why did they struggle? Well, once again, they didn't get anything going on the ground. That's why. They were held to just they had 153 rushing yards, but it took them 40 carries to get to that mark. Like, everything was tough for them. Tough sledding as far as the run game. These defenses, and Rice's defense is not very good. So my first thought is here is Rice plus 11.5. Take advantage of a Texas State team that was an awful favorite, especially double-digit favorite, Texas State. They were awful in that point spread role, and they were 2-8 against the spread down the stretch. And as a favorite, they finished the season on a 1-5 ATS slide in their last 6 games as a favorite. So I'm interested in Rice to make this competitive. The over as well. Can't back an under with these two defenses. What do you think here, C-Mac? Rice, Texas State.
I like Rice a little bit. They can't get down because they can't throw it.
That's true.
They don't have a good. Both these defenses are bottom. We're watching them all year long. Was not good. Texas State played better. I thought down the stretch, though, their defense was a little bit better. They're still, I don't know, you want to be laying points with them, and I can't. When you're that bad here, I just can't lay double digits. I think Rice will have success. If they get down 21-0 or something, 17, they're not the team to come from behind. So they better have long drives. That's one thing I think this total could get over, are these horrible defenses, but just because they can't tackle and they're just horrible. But Rice needs to have these longer type drives, which at least they'll have success, I think, running the football, because they're not going to throw it a ton. And Texas State's going to throw it on a bad Rice defense, especially secondary. That's, bottom 10 in the country in this one. So I kind of lean over and Rice here.
If Texas State's got their full starting complement on offense playing in this game, I probably like the over more. If they're missing some players, I'd probably lean more Rice. Even then, I think Rice could be down by 17 and get a backdoor touchdown late. That's very possible as well.
Yeah,
all right,
there's not a lot of opt-outs. I know that for Texas State so far.
And keep in mind, we're still a week and a half away from these bowl games taking place. So there could be some more info and news that we find out closer to game time. So make sure you're aware of that. All right, Liberty Bowl, Liberty. Navy and Cincinnati. Navy 7-point favorites. The total here, 54 in this game. I already laid it with Navy. You don't have to convince me to back a service academy in a bowl game. They're going to take it seriously. They're going to come to play. They're going to, the effort's going to be there. And I think we're going to see that here once again from Navy here in this matchup against Cincinnati. From all indications, Blake Horvath's going to play. And then for Cincinnati, it's opt-out city and transfer portal city. Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback in the transfer portal. It looks like Brady Lichtenberg, the senior, is going to end up maybe playing in this game, or the freshman Samaji Jones as well. But there's a bunch of players also that are in the transfer portal on the defensive side of the football entering this game for Cincinnati. A lot of them are in the secondary, and a lot of them, too, and there's a couple in the defensive line as well. Not areas you want to be weak here when you're facing a Navy team that can be pretty capable offensively. So I think this number actually could go up even further here in this game. I think you can lay the 7. I think Navy's going to win. This could be also writing on the wall. Cincinnati just mailed. This definitely has that mail it in feel that Cincinnati is not going to be all that enthused about this particular bowl game. So, and the opt-outs and the transfer portal activity kind of tells you that they're missing a lot, both sides of the football as far as starters are concerned. So I like Navy here. 6.5, 7, I think is still a good number. C-Mac, what do you think? Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know how they stop Navy's on the ground, and then who's going to play quarterback for Cincinnati to kind of make plays. But can they? One thing with Navy, their defense was all right. It's not great. They're decent against the run. That's my biggest issue. Yeah, it seems like Navy off the big win, but they take these games serious. Like you mentioned, even after getting that huge win against Army, they love playing in these bowl games. Horvath should eat up here. It just was a slide.
And you're missing a ton now, too, in addition.
You're missing a ton.
Yeah.
And they were bad down the stretch. We talked about if they were fraudulent, and what they lose 4 or last 5 games or 4 straight. I think, Cincy. So, yeah, I kind of agree here. Navy, maybe even their team total in this game as well.
All right, next up, we've got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Friday night, January 2nd. The
Dukes.
winning coach is going to get the Mayo slapped all over him. I know he can't wait for that. Wake Forest and Mississippi State. We've got Mississippi State 2.5-point favorites. The total here sitting at 53.5. This is, of course, in Charlotte, North Kakalaki, this bowl game. I think both teams at the moment might be, somewhat interested, somewhat excited, to be in this bowl. Again, it's early. We'll have to, in the process, we'll probably have to wait and see as we get a little bit closer, obviously, to opening kickoff. But at the moment, when you look at this Wake Forest and Mississippi State game, don't have a ton as far as the opt-out situation. I would expect the great running back for Wake maybe not to play because this guy's declared for the NFL draft. I don't think he's going to play, Claiborne, and he's a pretty good running back for Wake Forest. But like I said, that's definitely something you're going to wait to see closer to kickoff. As at the moment, Mississippi State's going to have a lot of their players available. Now, it is worth noting they will have an interim offensive or defensive coordinator because they fired the old one, Coleman Hutzler. Of course, still a lot of issues defensively this year for Mississippi State. We'll see if Wake Forest can capitalize on that. Right now, I'm leaning a little bit to the Bulldogs here. The Bulldogs are a team that, even though they finished 5-7, I think they're pretty enthused about, being in a bowl game. I know they lost 3 in a row down the stretch, but come on, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss, pretty tough schedule. You can forgive them for losing those games. And when you factor in the schedule that they played this year, they had to face A&M, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss. This is one of those games, too, where strength of schedule can come into play because Wake didn't play Miami. Wake didn't play Clemson in their ACC schedule. Like, they really avoided some of – and the ACC is not great this year, and yet Wake somehow didn't play many of the better ACC teams this year. They played NC State, mediocre team, Florida State, mediocre, North Carolina, bad. They played Duke, Virginia, and probably SMU are the toughest teams they played. And I know Duke and Virginia are the ACC championship, but there are people questioning whether especially Duke should have been in it. So, I think this is actually going to be, believe it or not, you wouldn't think that because it's a lower tier SEC team. But like I said, I still think this poses a challenge here for the Demon Deacons as far as this game's concerned. So I do lean Mississippi State at the moment. What do you think here, CMAC, Mayo Bowl?
Duke's Mayo Bowl. Here. Yeah, Mississippi State, what were they? 30th strength of schedule. Wake Forest was 66.
Yeah, little discrepancy there, yeah.
I don't want anything. I got to wait here on this game. I'd rather have Wake Forest. I think they have the better defense. The problem is I've hated this offense really all year long. But Mississippi State struggled, in certain games, Arizona State, other games, they played really well, but they consistently seem to give up points later in the year, later in the second half that I didn't like. Yeah. And two of these teams, really give a shit. Like this is, I guess you're playing on January 2nd, but this is a way too. These games are so much of, and the lines move. These lines are going to move. We talk about, like we think this, people start to hear whispers. One team wants to be there. One team doesn't. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, again, closer to the kickoff. But like I said, I'm looking for a reason to back Mississippi State there in that game. All right, next, at least maybe their team total over. Maybe not trust their defense because that's still a little spotty, but I think their offense is going to be able to move the ball a little bit there in that game. All right, our last game, Holiday Bowl. This is always one of the more historical, traditional bowl games in San Diego every year. We've got Arizona, taking on SMU. Arizona 3-point favorites, 51.5 the total here in this game. Looks like as far as, again, opt-outs here, it looks like at the moment for Arizona, Noah Fafita is going to play. A lot of their team is pretty much intact. Not much activity in the transfer portal other than one offensive lineman. So looks like Arizona's got a lot of their guys intact. for this game. SMU, at the moment, Kevin Jennings, it looks like, is going to play. That could always change, but at the moment, it does look like he's going to suit up here in this game for SMU. This game's in San Diego, and the one thing I'll say here about SMU is that away from home, it's been a little up and down for them. Arizona finished the season quite well, 5 straight wins, 4-1 against the spread down the stretch. When you're facing this SMU team, one thing you've got to be sound in. Obviously, is, believe it or not, it's the secondary, because they had trouble running the football consistently this year. SMU throwing it was actually their strength, 300 passing yards almost per game. But it's a very good Arizona secondary. It's probably the strength of the team, no question. So, will that SMU offense have a ton of success here? That remains to be seen. Meanwhile, the weakness of the SMU defense, the weaker area, is definitely the secondary. And this is an Arizona.
Oh yeah, they got a bad secondary.
Yeah, and all year Arizona has been better throwing it than running it. Arizona's not had a consistent ground game all year, but Fafita's got receivers. Fafita's capable of throwing the ball. Just from a pure X's and O's and matchup standpoint, I think there's reasons on both sides of the football to like the matchup a little bit more for Arizona than for SMU. So right now I lean SMU, and the number's still playable. 3 or better is still out there. That's my lean right now. Arizona going to wait a little closer to kickoff, see who's in, who's out, but Arizona right now, for me, is the way I would go here. CMAC, Holiday Bowl.
I hate those numbers because I was looking at it last night going through these games, and I'm like, God, this sucks. But it's like, I know Clemson's down, but they beat them. They beat Miami. The bad loss at Cal, it was exposed there to end the year. And you're right, Arizona did play well down the stretch. Some of their numbers look really good. It doesn't seem like a good matchup. But I'd rather have SMU here. I haven't bet it, but I'd rather have the points with them, as long as everyone looks like there's not too many opt-outs so far. Is that what you have that I see with SMU?
Certainly not for Arizona. SMU, there's more potentials, but nobody officially announced out yet.
Yeah, nothing yet. So, and we still got almost 2 weeks or whatever.
Next Friday night, January 2nd.
Okay.
Yep.
So I still think the value is a little bit here with SMU. I just would rather take them as a dog in a spot like this. It could be a tight game. So that's my initial lead.
All right, there we go. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Another edition of the College Football Hitting the Book Show. That's it for this year. Our next college football show will be 2 weeks from now. It'll be on a Monday, January the 5th. And it's going to be it'll be a nice short show, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to talk about the 2 semifinal games in the college football playoff, which are taking place the Thursday and the Friday that week. We'll do the show Monday at this time and preview the 2 college football playoff semifinals, Monday, January 5th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then we got our national championship show after that. We'll either do it on the 12th and give it a week of shelf life, the video, or we'll do it the day of the game. We'll determine that closer to the date. But 2 shows left either way for the College Football Hitting the Book show. CMAC, anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
No, shout out to everyone in here. Nunya, Kongs, Clips. Appreciate you, my guy. Merry Christmas to you and your fam. My guy, saw you this weekend. Kill it on your bets, my dude. Appreciate you. PlayStation, everyone in here. FB, Gotti, Andrew, Old E, saw him in there earlier. And they'll be soon, even with those, in the next 2 weeks, when we do that, we'll have college basketball back on Mondays as well. Yep. Once we're done with college football, we'll be in January. So Mondays and Tuesdays.
Tuesdays will be college basketball shows. In January, moving forward. Wednesday, Friday, we'll have shows too for the members only of the Hit the Books channel. That's going to be our schedule in the new year.
Just hit the like button. That's it. Let's. I can't wait to watch these games.
No doubt. Looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to the bowl games too, a little bit, just because a lot of them will have some money on them. But the playoff.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what I'm
playoff.
Everybody's excited for that, especially Bama, Indiana. I really can't wait for that one. That one's going to be fun to watch in the Rose Bowl. Shout out to everyone. Nunya, FB Gotti, PlayStation Gameplay, Robert Carlson, everyone else. We appreciate it very much. Good luck with all your wagers. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games and good luck. Merry Christmas, too, because this is our last time seeing you before Christmas here on the College Football Hitting the Book Show. This week, we will have the college basketball Hitting the Book Show tomorrow. And even though it's Christmas week, we still will be with you. Wednesday, Christmas Eve, members only show, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll still have our 2 members only shows this week for our Hitting the Books channel members. So, and thank you to our YouTube channel members for being
shout out to all the members
of the channel. We appreciate it very much. That's a wrap. Thanks to everyone. Enjoy the games and good luck. And next time we see you, college football Hitting the Book Show will be Monday, January 5th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, class dismissed.